We welcome you all as we prepare to begin the keynote address. We are privileged to have our distinguished keynote speakers, Mr. Yash Tadimalla garu, UNC Charlotte, Mr. Bill Oakes, Purdue University, USA, Dr. Gopal Krishna Joshi garu, MIT Vishwaprayag University, and Dr. Sushma Kulkarni garu, Nikmar University, offering valuable insights into these areas. To begin with the proceedings, may I invite Mr. Yash Tadimalla garu to deliver his keynote on grounding the AI ecosystem in the human identity.
Well, the title's different. It's called AI Literacy for All. Good afternoon, everyone. I know we've had a wonderful lunch, and hopefully we can get some brain juices flowing with this session. My name is Yash Tadimalla, and then I am a fifth-year PhD student at UNC Charlotte in computer science and sociology. I study how human identity intersects and influences how people interact, design, and engage with AI technologies, both from practitioner perspective, but also users and civic perspective. I also currently work as the technology focal point for the United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth. It's a civic cluster which focuses on advocating and thank you. It's a civic group that focuses on advocating and pushing agenda about young people and children's rights. And my specific focus is on how AI as a technology can be made more equitable and safe for children and young people around the world. I'm also the current president-elect for the World Student Platform for Engineering Education and Development. Before I hop into the presentation, I wanted to share a little bit of my journey so you understand the way I formed my concept about AI literacy and how it is comprehensive. I started my undergraduate at Hitham College in Hyderabad, and that's where I got exposed to 3 organizations that influenced my perspective about why we need a global perspective. I got exposed to SPEED, IUCE, and IFES, which are 3 organizations that are focused on bringing people together from different parts of the world together and focusing on creating knowledge that is not just contextual, but also is very inclusive from different perspectives, and it takes into consideration a purposeful approach to engineering education. And as a part of that, I got exposed to EPICS as my undergraduate capstone project, and I also was a part of ISB's TEP, which kind of made me think about that entrepreneurship and service are really important for any form of education that we engage in as educators. And in 2018, I started my master's in data science and human-computer interaction at UNC Charlotte. And I've engaged a lot with my local communities in Charlotte and also engaged with state policy on how we can get more teachers trained about AI, working with representatives and local legislators to get funding to K-12 or high school teachers to train on AI technologies to teach high school and middle school students. And in 2020, I started my PhD, and since then I've engaged a lot with three professional societies, IIII, which is the American Association for AI, the IEEE Computer Society, and ACM special interest groups. And as I started doing my research on how humans and AI as a technology intersect, I recognized there was a lot of inequity. The word inequity and power kept coming up, even though I was focused more on HCI and design. And I started to think about why is power and economics and inequity coming up when I'm trying to research a very technical topic. And as a part of that journey exploring that inequity and power, I've engaged with researchers and academicians and policymakers at multiple levels. I've engaged with the Human Rights Council in Geneva. I've also engaged with a lot of organizations in Africa and Australia recently over the last 2 years. And while speaking to different folks, I understood that AI as a technology, even though the word AI is the word now, a lot of the inequities come from the era of internet access and digital literacy, and understanding that a very small population in the world has the ability to influence a very large segment of society. We have a population of 8 billion people, and around 55.3 million people in the world identify in some form as engineer or connected to an ICT field, which is Internet communication technologies. And of this 55.3 million people, by 2050 are expected to influence around 60% of professional, informal, and formal workforce. And the challenge here is that we've seen it with internet, right? A lot of the cybersecurity crimes that happen, 70% of cybersecurity crimes that happen to populations that have not had access to digital literacy. And if we continue on the same path, we will end up in a situation where AI, when being used for non-benign purposes, has more chances to harm and create situations where people are being excluded from society because of a technology just because they have not been educated. And the reason, and some context for that over the last 3 years is it took 7 years to reach 100 million users on the internet. Can anyone guess how much time it took for 100 million users on ChatGPT? It took 1 year to reach 180 million users. And the number continues to rise now. And it's important to understand that in the current education landscape, we've focused more of our funding and resources on AI development than AI deployment. The similar trend also we're seeing in AI education versus AI literacy. And going into a little bit more about what is the difference, the current AI education landscape can be categorized into 4 main components. Technical AI education, which is the form of AI education which is focused on workforce building, where we want our engineering students to understand machine learning, concepts about neural networks, and they are able to go into the workforce as an AI engineer or a data scientist. We've also seen a rise in Gen AI education, which is more focused on specifically large language models and focused on democratizing AI and large language models. There's also over the last 2 years been an increase in cognitive and metacognitive AI education, which is focused more on artificial intelligence in the context of virtual reality and augmented reality. If ChatGPT was not released over the last 4 years, we would have been focused more on VR and augmented reality than AI as a word. And we've also seen the small group of ethical and social AI educational literacy efforts. But these continue to be modular in terms of workshops or a single course that is offered without being required in the curriculum anywhere. And every institution has a different approach to them. And coming to AI literacy specifically, the way AI literacy as a term originated, it started with civic education. It was about teaching people in society who are not going to be engineers about AI. And the missed opportunity here is that we have engineering students who either end up becoming more educated in technical AI education or they have none. So what I'm proposing today is that every engineering student, irrespective of discipline or year or institution or context, has to have some form of AI literacy to be a responsible citizen in our society. And doing a lot of literature review, workshops, and consultations across the world, and also teaching this content as a 2-credit course, a 3-credit course, and a summer camp for different age groups, we came up with 4 pillars of AI literacy that hopefully you, once you go back and reflect on, will represent the 4 ways you can look at your curriculum and see what's missing. The first is obviously understanding the scope and technical dimensions of AI. The second is kind of understanding how interaction happens when AI technologies are involved, the issues of ethical and socially responsible AI, but also understanding that AI has an influence on the way our society works, and understanding the implications of that, whether it be job displacement, retraining, or what are human skills that are not un-AIable. And again, in our breakout session, we're going to discuss more and talk about what are these pillars, what are underneath those pillars, and where our current curriculums exist and what needs to be revisited. We're also going to discuss in the breakout session how these AI pillars are mapped onto different age groups and demographics. We heard a lot about lifelong learning today. So the way we conceptualize AI literacy in this context is that it needs to be interdisciplinary, and adjustable. An electrical engineer is going to have a very different experience of AI literacy compared to a mechanical engineer. But these 4 pillars are consistent across all the disciplines. And also understanding how high schoolers and middle school students are exposed to AI, understanding that STEM students versus non-STEM students have different experiences, and understanding that in public, we have people who want to get into the field, and we have pathways for them to enter the field, and ultimately becoming students at our institutions. So, the call to action for you is that AI literacy can be transformed into a fundamental element of education at all levels, from K-12 to lifelong learning, and that it is not only it's not enough to just focus on the technical aspects, but also to have a socio-technical approach that's interdisciplinary. And this work has been funded by NSF, UNC Charlotte. NSF really is strict about mentioning their funding, and you can scan that QR code to access the paper and research work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your insights. Your presentation has provided us with valuable knowledge and inputs.